I still don't know what to make of the random climax in The Boys finale, and I think we can all agree that the show set up something way more grievous and sinister than a sudden duel to finish things off. I thought I wouldn't have to bear the disappointment of the Game of Thrones ending all over again, but here I am, pondering over all that went wrong with the way The Boys ended things. I mean, of all the things that could have happened, did you really think that Homelander's oppressive regime would be ended so easily? There is hardly a hiccup in the mission, and everything works out for a happy ending that almost makes me forget what a diabolical and twisted superhero series this has been over the years. Nevertheless, let me at least share my disappointment in this video, which is also more of a collective fan disappointment about the season finale. There will be some major spoilers along the way, so you have been warned.
You have your thing. I have mine.
The glaring flaws in the mission. I have no idea why the boys pack their guns and bullets before every mission like they are going to war with regular humans. The number of times I've seen Frenchie, and the others attempt to shoot a supe with no result whatsoever is far too many. But this time around, the mission was flawed from the very beginning. They just planned to face off against Homelander, and it almost seems too easy as they make their way through the secret tunnel networks. Aside from one tiny inconvenience that is helped by Ashley, there is hardly anything significant to stop them before they barge into the room in the White House, where Homelander is briefing the entire country. Previously, we have seen how Homelander has an entire army of supes by his side, and when it came to this decisive moment, there was not a single one there to protect him, except for Oh Father. And don't even get me started about the death of Homelander, which brings me to my next point. Homelander's death scene is not satisfying. This is the most powerful supe in the world, the one who plans to take over as a new god, and the one who has recently injected himself with V1 for near immortality. Shouldn't Homelander be almost impossible to take down? I know Kimiko has been developed as the weapon, who can now emit a radioactive blast like Soldier Boy that supposedly takes away the superpower from any supe, but the events leading up to that are far too easy. Before she can blast away Homelander, there is a brief duel between Homelander and Butcher, where Butcher has the assistance of Kimiko and Ryan, who joins in later. Now, this is where I don't like how Homelander comes across as significantly weaker. Even with superpowers, Butcher's punches shouldn't be enough to rattle Homelander, and he certainly shouldn't be thrown around the room like he's one of the random guards. Yes, he does fight back, but it's not much, except for his laser beams and a few good hits. You can tell that Butcher has a very strong plot armor, and he gets the job done even though a few of his tentacles are destroyed by Homelander. Also, every time Homelander tries to fly off to safety, he's restrained quite easily, but this reminds me of one earlier standoff, where he's far too quick for anyone to stop him. Even in the finale, there is a scene where he literally flies into space with a man and comes back in 2 seconds. You're telling me that he is not fast enough to outrun Butcher and his son? It's almost like he had to die, so they force his death without worrying about all the logical inconsistency. Lastly, his death is underwhelming at best, and for all the ways that I imagine he would die, a rod through the head would be one of the least likely. Huey killing Butcher seems absurd. The TV series version of Huey is no match for Billy Butcher, and anyone who has watched the show can tell you that. Even with no superpowers, Butcher is a trained soldier who served in the special forces, and Huey is a civilian with no significant fighting skill. Yet, the showrunners suddenly seem to have wanted an ending as they deliver in the comic series. Huey is the one who kills Billy Butcher in the comics after he goes rogue and sets on a path, determined to eliminate all supes in the world. After killing Homelander, Butcher does something similar in the show as well, but his plans are interrupted by Huey, who tries to stop him forcibly. There's a brief hand-to-hand encounter, and Huey landing a punch on Butcher seems absurd. Later, he's quick enough to take a gun and gritty enough to shoot Butcher dead, both of which do not add up, except for a hurried ending that is almost forced. Well, at least he got one comic accurate thing about the ending. Soldier Boy is kept away. This one might be more of a personal grievance, but I'm sure many of you would have also liked to see Soldier Boy in action for one last time. He had a perfect motive after being betrayed by Homelander even after he gave him the V1, and the final battle could have been epic. Instead, he's just kept away the whole time, presumably locked in his cryogenic chamber. And if that is not a disappointing end to one of the best characters in the show, I don't know what is. I would have loved it if the boys found a way to free him and get him on their side before they went after Homelander, because that would have given them a better chance to kill the powerful supe without it looking ridiculous and forced. Gen V supes only offer an insignificant cameo. When Marie Moreau and Jordan were introduced in the previous episode, I thought they might have a major role to play in the final battle. Especially with Marie Moreau, I was wondering if her blood-controlling powers might come in handy to take away the V1 from Homelander's system. After all, she was sold to us as a supe who is theoretically more powerful than Homelander, and I always thought that she would have a major part in the final event. Of course, that was not to be, and all you see of Marie in the series is a cameo that is so insignificant that they could have done without it as well, without changing a thing. Do you just bring her in so that she can drive a bunch of people to Canada and have a heartwarming conversation with her favorite hero Starlight? I just think it's a major wasted opportunity. Deep didn't deserve to die like that. Well, this might be an unpopular opinion because most people find the Lord of the Seven Seas to be despicable, and he is without a doubt. But he is more stupid and cowardly than he is evil, and I really expected a twist in his character arc. Instead, all we got was a thrashing at the hands of Starlight, who flung him into the ocean. The aquatic creatures who were already furious with him for the betrayal that killed many from an oil leak gives him a brutal death. The foreshadowing was there because the deep was warned by a hammerhead shark in the previous episode that if he ever stepped into the water, he would be slaughtered. But as a supe who thrives in water, Deep doesn't even fight back. If you're going to kill him like that, at least make him look like a supe. He could have killed a few sharks and pulled off a few moves before he was overwhelmed by the numbers. But his death was far too easy. Yes, he totally deserved it, but the narrative could have been better. Way too much happened in too little time. I knew this was always going to be the case because the entire season was somewhat slow and the narrative wasn't really closing up all the loose ends. This feels a lot to take care of in one final episode, and the result is a rushed story that just shuts down abruptly. Of course, Homelander had to be killed and the order had to be restored, but there were so many better ways to get the job done. In fact, some of my earlier speculative videos had better endings imagined for the characters and the show than what the show delivered. The fight scenes were quick, and some of the random story arcs were simply pushed under the rug to end things for the sake of ending things. I felt like the makers have already put their mind into their next spin-off project and they are not even bothered to use their resources wisely for the final season of The Boys. This is not the ending that the show deserved, period. Ashley getting impeached is hilarious and unfair. If there is one character who deserved a happy ending, it is Ashley, because of how much her character has developed. I always thought that she might just sacrifice herself for the greater good, or she would get a happy ending if she survives. The show gave her neither. However, if you watch the episode, you will realize that her contribution is what made the mission to kill Homelander possible. As the acting president, she was the one who ensured that the boys got out of the tunnel after being cornered, and she even showed them the way. For all her bravery, what she got in the end was rather unfair because she was impeached almost immediately. Now, I'm all for the new president, but Ashley deserved some respect and acknowledgement, especially after MM ruined her favorite intimate toy and got her partner killed. Too many evil supes are still at large. The idea from the onset was to get rid of supes as a whole because even a few rogue ones could jeopardize the safety of the others. As Butcher says in the final episode, even the death of Homelander does not ensure that another Homelander wouldn't pop up somewhere else with the time. But the show does nothing to get rid of this problem. In fact, there are quite a few evil and twisted supes who are still out there, and while they might not be as powerful as Homelander, they still have enough powers to cause some serious problems. Maybe they have a timeline where the new government will try to enforce some law against the supes, and the rogue ones will be brought in, but I would have loved some more clarity on the matter. Expected way more violence and brutality. Tell me something honestly, did the final episode of The Boys even feel like we were watching the same show that we started watching? Well, it didn't for me because I did not sign up to see Huey getting Starlight pregnant and a happily ever after for most characters. The final episode should have been all about blood and gore and sinister supes because I would have loved to remember this one as the darkest superhero shows ever made. Let alone the random fight scenes, even the one with Homelander was not brutal enough, and it almost became too easy when Ryan dropped by to help Butcher. Overall, it is an ending that I would like to forget, and maybe even the fans will also remember the best parts of the show, which definitely wouldn't include the ending. My heart has now been broken too many times as I have watched my favorite shows deliver half-baked and random endings. I didn't expect the same from The Boys, but here we are, after a climax that doesn't even feel like one. I just hope that the spin-off shows that come next will do justice to the legacy of the story, and maybe the makers should spend some time thinking about the ending beforehand so we don't experience something so random once again. I would love to hear from you in the comments below about what you liked the best about the ending, and also share your grievances about the underwhelming climax. Also, if you appreciate the efforts to bring you this content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more such videos.